Venezuela's National Assembly approved on Thursday a partial reform to the hydrocarbon law. Parliament President Jorge Rodriguez opened the vote for the reform under Article 203 of the nation's constitution, which was approved by a qualified majority. The reform seeks to ease and increase oil production in the Bolivarian nation, and Rodriguez also highlighted the importance to implement a law to protect the income of the Venezuelan people. On Thursday in Caracas, the capital of Venezuela, acting President Delcy Rodriguez supported the partial reform of the organic law on hydrocarbons and assured that this new legal framework will strengthen energy sovereignty, attract investment, and develop oil fields that have not been exploited until now. In this regard, Delcy Rodriguez stated that activating currently inoperative oil fields through more flexible business schemes and greater participation by the private sector in partnership with the state and workers would lead to a notable improvement in crude oil production and generate greater resources for social investment. The acting president also described the legislative achievement as an imperative necessity for the development and well-being of the Venezuelan people.
We are witnessing the development of the discussion on the partial reform of the hydrocarbons law within the framework of our energy sovereignty, a law that seeks to adapt, a law that seeks to attract investment for the development of fields never exploited by Venezuela, and that the exploitation of these oil fields be for the happiness of the people, directly for the happiness of our people.
Venezuela's Defense Minister Vladimir Padrino Lopez stated on Thursday that the kidnapping of President Nicolás Maduro was linked to the United States' use of experimental weapons during an activity of the Bolivarian National Armed Forces. Padrino Lopez assured that, as publicly admitted by the United States President Donald Trump at the Davos Economic Forum, the attack against Venezuela constituted a military aggression in which Washington used weapons and technologies never before employed. In this context, Padrino Lopez directly linked the use of this experimental armament to the kidnapping of constitutional President Nicolás Maduro Moros, assuring that Venezuela has been the laboratory to test the aggression.
On this very space where we are right now, a military aggression was committed by the world's leading nuclear power.
Militar por parte de la primera potencia mundial nuclear letal del mundo.
The most lethal in the world, which, as President Donald Trump said yesterday from Davos, Switzerland,
Donald Trump ayer desde Davos, en Suiza, desde el Foro Económico Mundial,
from the World Economic Forum held annually there in Davos, he said expressly, clearly, that they had used weapons that had never been used on a battlefield.
Que habían utilizado armas que nunca habían sido usadas en un campo de batalla.
Weapons that no one else in the world had, and those weapons, that technology that they used against our people on January 3rd, 2026,
que usaron contra nuestro pueblo el 3 de enero del 2026,
has resulted in Venezuela's being the laboratory where that aggression ended in what we now know as the kidnapping of President Nicolás Maduro Moros,
donde esa agresión pues terminó en lo que ya conocemos, pues el secuestro del
a president elected by this people and his wife, the First Lady, Congresswoman Celia Flores.
And on Friday, Venezuela marks the anniversary of the popular rebellion that ended Pérez Jiménez's rule and is widely seen as a turning point that paved the way for democratic government. In this context, Foreign Minister Iván Gil highlighted the date. Through his Telegram account, the top diplomat shared, on January 23rd of 1958, the popular rebellion that ended the dictatorship of General Marcos Pérez Jiménez culminated in a display of the power of civil-military unity. In this regard, he assured that after the end of Pérez Jiménez's rule, the country entered a new era of two-party government, political and economic crisis, and great hardship for the population, which ended with the arrival of Commander Hugo Chávez and the triumph of the Bolivarian Emancipation Project. And in other news, the director of Russia's Foreign Intelligence Service, Sergei Narishkin, asserted that with the kidnapping of Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro, the United States had put the final nail in the coffin of the liberal order. During an interview with a national media outlet, Narishkin expressed astonishment that some politicians in Washington were boasting about an operation that he described as a blatant violation of international law. The diplomat and security and intelligence expert affirms that the attack against the Bolivarian nation is part of a series of U.S. imperialist actions over the last 3 decades, citing the cases of Yugoslavia, Iraq, and the military intervention in Libya. In this regard, Narishkin says it is very symbolic that the end of what he called the totalitarian liberal order was sealed by Washington. In other information, Xi Jinping and Luis Ignacio Lula da Silva spoke by telephone about cooperation between China and Brazil and the importance of global South solidarity. From Beijing, let's go to our correspondent Bruno Falchi for more details.
Greetings, companions. I am in Beijing now to report that the President Xi Jinping spoke this morning by phone with the Brazilian President Luis Ignacio Lula da Silva. Xi highlighted the progress in building a China-Brazil community with a shared future, strengthening cooperation in trade, science, and technology, as also sustainability, an example of solidarity among global South countries. Xi emphasized that China and Brazil are key forces in promoting global peace, defending the interests of the global South, and supporting an international system based on rules and sovereignty. Lula stressed that Xi's historical visit in Brazil in 2024 elevated the bilateral relation, pointing to joint projects in energy, infrastructure, and trade. He reaffirmed Brazil's commitment in working with China to strengthen multilateralism and consolidate the BRICS bloc, highlighting the importance of South-South cooperation in facing of global challenge. The conversations came weeks after a United States military operation that led to the kidnapping of the Venezuelan president Nicolás Maduro, resulting in 100 deaths in all the countries. The attacks faced a concern across Latin America and was criticized as a violation of sovereignty and international law, principles that both leaders emphasize. With this news from here, the capital of China, we go back with you in the studios in La Habana, Cuba.
Venezuela's National Assembly approved on Thursday a partial reform to the hydrocarbon law. Parliament President Jorge Rodriguez opened the vote for the reform under Article 203 of the nation's constitution, which was approved by a qualified majority. The reform seeks to ease and increase oil production in the Bolivarian nation, and Rodriguez also highlighted the importance to implement a law to protect the income of the Venezuelan people. On Thursday,